This episode was suggested by Anine13. Thank you. Another day, another Derby profile. Today's episode is on Admire Daytona. Let's go. First up, the stats. 6 starts, 2 wins, 2 seconds, no thirds, and earnings of just over $670,000. For major races, Admire Daytona has technically been a part of 2 different roads to the Kentucky Derby. First, he was 4th in the Hyacinth Stakes on the Japan road to the Kentucky Derby, and then he won the UAE Derby, which this year, for the first time, was put on the Europe/Middle East road to the Kentucky Derby. So instead of accruing 100 Derby points the usual way like in years past, he instead gets an invitation. For running style, in Japan, he was more of a stalker, flying on the outside with a sort of slingshot move. This move being effective enough for him to get into a head-to-head duel with Luxor Cafe and lose by the slimmest of margins. But then in the UAE Derby, similar to what happened to Dermasoda Gake when he went to the Middle East, he was sent to the lead and won the race nearly gate to wire, although the huge difference was how it was done. When Dermasoda Gake won the UAE Derby, he did it pretty easily, unchallenged. Meanwhile, Admire Daytona got into a mild pace duel on the backstretch and then had to fight tooth and nail against 2 different horses the entire quarter mile and won by just a nose. Certainly a admirable performance, but also one that shows his limits. As we move on to strengths, this ability to both be a stalker and also a frontrunner is something that could be used to his advantage. If there isn't enough pace in the Derby, he could go and set his own pace, but if horses like Rodriguez are too aggressive on the front end, he could also rate. He is better equipped for the 20-horse field than the American horses, winning races with as much as 16 different horses running. His final quarter mile in the UAE Derby is actually better than it looks. It does definitely look like a real scuffle as he's plodding along, but do keep in mind, he ran that final quarter in 26.22 seconds. The average final quarter in the Kentucky Derby is 26 seconds flat. Admire Daytona only needs to go a 1/5 of a second faster to run a Derby-winning final quarter, and clearly he can do that while fighting gamely against other horses, such as Heart of Honor, so he has quite the integrity and grit. That also just goes for the fact that as a 3-year-old, he won both of his races. He struggled to break his maiden at 2, but now he's won 2 of his last 3 races, with his only hiccup being the Hyacinth Stakes where he was too far back. Now on to weaknesses, which are just as varied. He's going to have to run against Luxor Cafe, the other Japanese representative who has beaten Admire Daytona 2 different times. Even in a head-to-head duel, where they were on a fair playing field, when push came to shove, Luxor Cafe had the advantage, and then came back and absolutely whooped him in the Hyacinth. More accomplished horses in Japan have run in the Kentucky Derby and lost. Now, it is kind of a mixed bag when it comes to which Japan horses do their best work. I didn't think T.O. Password was going to do anything, and he actually finished 5th in last year's Kentucky Derby. So, for all I know, Admire Daytona could run better than Luxor Cafe and adjust to the travel nicely. But horses like Forever Young, Dermasoda Gake, have ran in the Kentucky Derby with clearly a better record and resume, and they weren't able to get it done. And for Admire Daytona to try and do a historic double in the UAE Derby and the Kentucky Derby, I don't think he'd be the one to do it. Also, his victory in the UAE Derby, while his final quarter was impressive, he barely won it. He's going to have to run an extra 1/16 of a mile. That may not sound like a lot, but that final 100 yards can really change a lot of things. So 1.25 miles could be pushing his luck, despite his best race being when he stretched out. Overall, I would say that he is a second-tier Japan horse who improved in his last start in absence of his bigger partner. He is talented in his own right, but history says he's not going to win. For that, I give Admire Daytona a C+ grade. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Derby Profile. Comment down other horses I should cover, and I'll see you guys next time.